my my laughter is from excitement because I get a chance to be able to spend time with some of the coolest people in the entire world. The one of the main things that I've learned from this man is that technology matters. Not that it matters just in the fact of that technology has to be there, but technology matters because it can make your life simpler. It can make your family spend more time together. It could create more income where you could spend more time with the people that you absolutely love. You could be more efficient in your life because of technology. And especially in today's world where people are talking, whether it be AI or technology is going to take away jobs, is going to do all these, this man consistently helps me to realize that technology matters in my life if I want to have my time back, if I want to be efficient, if I want to spend time with the people who are the most important. And it's incredible for me to spend time with this man too, because he shines lights on everybody else. He builds companies so other people have an easier, more efficient, and more profitable life. And most of the time people want to shine the light on themselves, but greatness, when the light is never on them, it's constantly on other people. Mr. Brian Charlesworth is on the podcast today, and I cannot wait. So let's get this party started.
Nothing more on my mind. I got two shines, so every day I grind. Work in the morning, work in the evening. We's achieving, cause we believing. It's for certain, we put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting. Right before your eyes, so it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised. Over and over and over again. Make no mistake, we continue to win. Defeat never know, cause I will not lose. They wanna mimic my moves, but can't walk in my shoes.
The champ is here. Brian, welcome to the podcast, man. It is an honor, and it is my honor. I'm excited about it. But man, what's the flex behind you? Tell me the flex behind you. Right before we have to make sure. If you're listening to this, he's sitting and he's got charts right behind him of all the amazing things that are happening. And this is technology, and this is how your life could be more efficient. Break it down for us, Brian.
So this one here is my wife's business. I always have my finger on her business, right? I know exactly what's going on there, as well as any other Sisu customer's business. That's what that is. And the one on the other side is those are some jerseys. I used to sit on the front row of the Jazz game right next to the visiting team, and my son was about 9 years old, and he always wore the visiting team's, their shooting guard or their point guard's jersey. They always signed his jerseys. They always gave him their arm sleeves and their wristbands and, all that fun stuff. And so got to spend time meeting people like Kyrie Irving and John Wall and Chris Paul and Steph Curry. Those are some of the great ones that were just like, those guys would do anything for kids. And it's really cool to see.
I think that's a brilliant strategy. Your son, did he come up with it or did you come up with it?
Well, he came up with it. Well, I'd take him to these games, and he was I was his coach at the time, and he played, comp ball, and he was the kid that just wanted to shoot 3-pointers all day. Like Ray Allen was his idol, and he just like tried to emulate Ray Allen. So anyway, but any of the shooting guards or point guards, those were the stars, and so whenever he'd go to a game with me, we'd always go pick up that guard's jersey on the way to the game, and then he'd wear it to the game, and then he'd get, sometimes he'd even get their shoes.
Well, it's amazing because it goes right in line with what I was talking about, how you shine light on everybody else. Every company that you've built, anything that you've been a part of, it's always been about making other people in the limelight. Like, where did you learn that trait, or was that something that, innately just came from you?
That's a great question. I watched my dad as an entrepreneur. He had companies like a painting company that had 50 trucks in Ogden. He had a real estate brokerage that I don't know. He probably had 100 agents at that real estate brokerage, but he had this cycle of ups and downs and ups and downs. And so I always had this vision of just really wanting to do something bigger and wanting to change the world. And I happened to be I happened to be at MCI WorldCom, MCI, before WorldCom bought them. Most of you guys probably don't know who MCI is, but back in the day, MCI, sign of age right there. But MCI and AT&T were the two largest telecom companies in the world. And they were actually the backbone of the internet when the internet first came out. And so back in those days, I was training people on how to use email and how to browse the internet and how to make the internet useful, right? So anyway, at that time, I just had a vision of wanting to create something bigger and something that would really change the world for everybody. And so that's when I built the company Talk2.com, which was the world's first voice internet company, which now we do that stuff on Siri, Alexa, and Google. But I had that vision of doing voice internet back when Steve Jobs had this vision. And this vision of the iPhone obviously won that. But now that voice internet is all coming in and has become a very popular thing, I think, for all of us.
Well, and no matter what arena you've played in, you've continually made things more efficient. And it's almost, for me, every time, like I asked you the other day, I said, who wouldn't use your product? Sisu right now, like in the real estate game, who wouldn't use it? And you were just puzzled. Like you just looked at me and you're like, I mean, it would make no sense not to. You didn't say those exact words. I know the words you said. But
that's what I meant. That's what I meant.
But for me, it was like, it made so much sense. You explained Sisu to me. I was looking at from a real estate perspective, which I'm not in that business, but I was looking at the business model of it. And I was like, well, why wouldn't every single person in real estate use Sisu? Can you break it down for us? Like, why wouldn't someone utilize and have at their fingertips? Like I'm looking, if you're listening to me right now, I'm looking behind Brian and I see a whole business and see key performance indicators that are so easy to read.
Yeah, I wish I could break it down. My vision is that every transaction in real estate flows through our platform. And I think ultimately it will. I mean, we're doing things not only that improve the experience for the realtor and for the team leader and business owner, but also for the consumer. And so ultimately, I mean, let's say this, Kelly, when you order DoorDash, which I'm guessing you do, I talked to someone yesterday who had never ordered DoorDash. So I want to make sure, have you ever ordered DoorDash?
I have, because of my kids.
All right. And when you order DoorDash, what happens?
I clicked the link. They charged me way more than the food was worth. And then I got it. And generally it was like lukewarm and my kids were happy.
That's a great description. But if your kids order DoorDash, what they're saying is, yes, they received my order.
Yes.
And now it's being prepared. And they're actually watching that app to say, hey, they just picked it up and now they're on their way to my house. And then they get this picture of it sitting on the doorstep. And that's, you get the same thing from Amazon, you get the same thing from FedEx. But where we don't get that same thing is when we buy a house. And so, this is the largest purchase of most people's lifetimes, is buying their house. And yet there's this horrible experience where we all know the agents do a great job in general, but their biggest weakness is communicating with their clients. So if as the transaction coordinator is in the background checking things off that you're doing on behalf of your clients, and your clients are getting notified and they're seeing this timeline, and some people call it this pizza tracker because it came from Domino's originally, right? But now they're having this amazing experience. And I sold houses for about 1.5 years. I sold 48 homes my first year in the business. Most of those were listings. And what I would do is every Wednesday, I would block out the afternoon to meet with my clients. This, we could talk about why I got into real estate, but that's another story. But anyway, when I got into real estate, I went to every Wednesday, I'd block out the afternoons to just meet with my clients. And what would I do? I would say, hey, look, this is what we've done for you over the last week, and this is what we're going to do next week. What questions do you have? These are the people that came through your home. These are the comments they had. And that's where you talk about doing price reductions or whatever you want to talk about. But it's so important that people communicate with their clients. And in most cases, realtors don't do that. And so with Sisu, it's automatically happening. And if they sit down and do it and share our client portal in a Zoom and say, look, here's what would happen and here, and they're seeing it on their phone all the time anyway. But if you ever have that experience as a consumer, and then you go back to someone who doesn't use a client portal, you're not going to have a very good experience.
So talk to me too about this idea wasn't that you just sat down and you said, hey, I want to impact real estate. This actually happened. And what I love about you is you add relationship to technology. Like, and when I said that, you know, technology matters, you've actually added a heartbeat, which I've never seen before. And so this technology was birthed from a relationship that you saw pain points in a person that you loved and cared about, and you were able to impact.
Yeah, no, before I answer that, tell me what you mean when you say you add a heartbeat. I've never heard that.
Well, when I think of technology, I said it right at the beginning. So many people are scared of technology right now. Oh, wow, if I use this technology, I'm going to take jobs away from people. If I take and use AI and make my stuff more efficient, it's going to take jobs away. And so people are so scared it's going to overtake us. But then there's the people like you that say, like, no, there's a person behind that technology. And if I can make that person's life easier through this technology. And when you explained Sisu to me when I was on the podcast and you were talking about it, I was like, I would get my life back. I could spend more time with my kids. I could spend more time with my wife. So that's what I mean with you. You've really added a heartbeat in my life. You've added a heartbeat to this technology and made it not a thing that I'm scared of.
Yeah, yeah. So Sisu was really built because I jumped in to help my wife grow her business after my last company sold. And she asked me to step in and help her grow her real estate team, which at the time was 5 agents. Now she has about 100 agents. And that was, well, when I stepped in was about 8 years ago, but Sisu was built, about 6 or 7 years ago. So anyway, in that time frame, what we've really done is just helped her streamline and automate her business, help her become a better leader. And how is she a better leader? Well, she now has tools that she can help agents hit their goals. She can hold her team leader accountable to hitting his numbers. She can hold her ops team leader accountable. And so she has these systems where instead of her being a person that's actually managing her agents every day, she was able to now recruit people and manage those people by knowing her, she knows her numbers real time, she knows her business, and she has systems to eliminate all the wasted time with duplicate entry and that kind of stuff. So, it's just something that I saw as a need as I came into her business. As I saw us using whiteboards for things, using Google intake forms, using Trello, using spreadsheets, all these things that just didn't make sense. I was used to using Salesforce, and it made sense to make it easy for people in this business to really streamline and run an efficient business without having to use 5 or 6 different systems.
How does a person stay away from the mania that happens in today's society, as far as like a lot of people get their real estate information off of TikTok or off of Instagram or off of social platforms, and they're looking at, especially with this lawsuit that was that just came down. A lot of people, there was so much fear. And the reason why there was fear is because there was mania, as far as like people just running around, like telling this story of, with half information. But how do you, as a real estate agent, or in any business for that matter, stay out of that type of thing and stay in and rely on actual facts, like with Sisu?
Yeah, well, I think the worst thing anybody in business could do is pay attention to the media. Like, the media is trying to stir up and make everything look bad. And so if you focus on that, you're in trouble. Just focus on the things you can control, right? So if you focus on the things you can control, if you stay with your head down in your own business, whatever that business is, and focus on execution, you'll win. Like, while everyone else is caught up in the media, if you just focus on execution, you'll come out a winner. So even in, businesses have their cycles and they have their troughs, and even going through that challenge, you just stay focused on execution, you'll win. You'll grow while everyone else is losing or dying.
So when people go through the shiny thing, I was just talking with one of my buddies, Phil Palmetto, here in San Diego, and he's in the real estate space, and he said, real estate agents get bombarded with the newest, hottest thing. right? And so they just jump into it. And they're like, hey, I'm going to do that. This thing is going to be a solution. Whereas Sisu is a solution for you not going after all the shiny things. Like this is the part that, but can you explain that part of it and that mentality, or, how you were able to solve those challenges and not just be another shiny thing?
Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest thing in how we started was really more of being a sales performance platform when we initially started. And if you think about it, every agent that comes into real estate, and I know this because I've worked with hundreds of or thousands of team owners at this point, every agent wants to make $100,000. That's their goal. And every team owner's goal was to do 100 million in closed volume. But what none of them knew is how to get there. So I know any agent can come into my world and I could coach them, and I coach some of Spring's top agents, and I can get them to close 4 or 5 transactions a month automatically. And how I do that is I figure out how many conversations it takes to get an appointment, right? And how many appointments do they need to go on to actually get a closing. And once I know that, I can control their world as long as they're willing to do the work. If they're willing to make those commitments to have their 20 conversations a day or whatever that is, and go on at least 3 appointments a week, I can guarantee that they will close, 5 transactions a month. So it's really that easy. Like, I think so many people, they listen, especially in real estate, they listen to whatever somebody else is saying, and they'll go down that road. And it's not about that. All you have to do is do the simple, basic stuff that brings people to buy houses from you, right? People are always going to buy houses. Like and there's always going to be realtors. There's been billions of dollars spent trying to eliminate the realtor. Like, not just billions, hundreds of billions of dollars spent trying to eliminate the realtor. And the realtor's still here. The realtor's not going anywhere. Companies that have spent the money on that have now embraced that the agents are going to be around for a long time and forever. And the reason being is it's not just about finding a home. Sure, there are places you can go to Zillow now and you can find a home. But now you have to put it under contract. And that's probably the easy part. The hard part is keeping it under contract. And that's what an agent's for. Well, my brother-in-law and my sister, they are like the real estate gurus. I would say, like, if anyone knows how to make money from houses, it's them. They build houses, they sell them for twice what they pay. They find houses at discounts. They're always just moving and shaking, buying houses. And they had a house under contract in the Ivans down in St. George, just at the base of Snow Canyon. And this was when the market was going up, right? And so they had this house under contract, I want to say for $930,000. The appraisal came in, and the appraisal was 8 something. So what did they do? This was their neighbor, because they had a house across the street. So instead of having an agent that talked to them about the appraisal, talked to them about the market, their immediate thought was, hey, we're going to try to negotiate. We're only going to pay appraisal value. Well, the market was going up so much at the time. The seller knew that. They didn't want to budge on it. And so what happened is this deal ended up falling out of contract. Within a week of it falling out of contract, the seller actually had it under contract for over $1 million. So again, that's just one example of why an agent's so important in the real estate space.
Help me with some of these efficiencies when you were talking about. I want to go back. I want to rewind a little bit to when you said, if I can find out how many, which one was it before the appointment?
So conversations.
Okay, conversations to get an appointment to actual sale or a contract. When you say that, it sounds so simple, right? I mean, it is ridiculous, right? Talk to us about some of those efficiencies that a lot of times people don't realize, but are slipping through the cracks, causing the person not to have a viable business.
Yeah. again, in every sales process, this isn't just real estate, but in every sales process, you could go door to door sales, right? They have to have so many they have to knock so many doors, and they have to have so many conversations, and they have to get so many commitments. They have to so many appointments where they have the closer come in and follow them as they're knocking doors to get the deal done. And then that equates to so many closings. If you know that, that's what these circles are on the dashboard behind me. You have conversations, you have appointments set, appointments met, signed, under contract, and closed. But there's conversion ratios between every one of those. And if people are doing the activities, you can coach them to where their weaknesses are. So let's say I'm having a lot of conversations, but I'm not setting appointments. Well, at that point, now I can work with you on your scripts. And once I get your scripts down on setting appointments, now once you're going on those appointments, when you first start get into real estate, you start going on appointments, honestly, you suck, right? You're not going to do well. But go on some appointments and fail. And then I can start working with you on what you're doing in those appointments, right? Are you showing up and throwing up? Are you just telling them how great you are, even though you're not, Or are you really asking great questions to find out what their needs are and solving those needs? And so once we get that shift done, we can make a big difference on that. And then if we plug into the Sisu client portal on top of that, we can really drive those conversion ratios. But again, all you have to do is if you can get someone to do the activities and you can coach them through where their weaknesses are, I can get anybody to sell 5 homes a month.
The interesting thing the other day on the podcast, maybe it was before we started, we were talking about you most of the time won't take a person on to coach them, and you were like, I'll help them, but I won't coach them. And it was such a mind blower for me. I sat in this the whole day, Brian, and I was like, Brian is constantly thinking about the future. Like, that prudence in you is phenomenal. Like, you're not just thinking about this right now. Like, hey, I'm going to coach you and I'm going to extract from you. I want to actually give to you, because then you're going to become a client of Sisu, because you're going to see the value in it. And ultimately, that'll have more exponential gain than just the immediate. Why is it that you won't coach people?
Well, I mean, even if you're a client of Sisu, typically the people that ask me to coach them, we do events, as you know. You came to Spring's event. But Sisu does a quarterly event that we used to call Sisu Mastery, and we're now changing the name and changing the content to Behind the Scenes of a Real Estate Machine. And that's Spring's business, powered by Sisu. So anyway, when people come to those events, though, we talk a lot about what it takes, changing their culture, how they lead their agents, how they manage their systems, how they manage their back office, how they do everything. And so a lot of people will say, well, will you coach me? And the truth is, I'm not a real estate coach. I don't want to be a real estate coach. I will help you. Like, most of these people are already Sisu customers. So let me just help you go all in with Sisu, and you're going to have a very successful business. I'm not saying you don't need a coach. A lot of people in real estate, all the top teams in real estate have coaches. So you should probably find a coach. But if you want to manage an efficient business, a profitable business, and one that can scale and grow without all the challenges that you would have by just trying to go do it on your own, that's where I can help you.
What about the challenge of the initial part of it? Because say when I look at the gauges behind you, like, to me, it's like, wow, this is like the Holy Grail. This is like Disneyland, watching it happen, right? But a lot of people get caught, like my buddy Sean Finnegan said, the start stops you, right? Most of the time. And how, in the onboarding process, is there a lot of learning curve for a person, or have you just made it so simple that anybody could roll into this?
Every day, I try to make it more simple. We just rolled out something where we do a live demo with somebody that signs up for Sisu, and we actually bring them in, and in 10 minutes, we'll connect to their CRM, which is lead follow-up in real estate. So we connect to their CRM so we can pull in all their activities to get reporting on that. So we can pull things into their Sisu intake forms that replace their Google forms. And then we show going through the appointment met, the appointment signed, under contract closed. We show them something happening all the way through with the client portal active. And that takes about 10 minutes, and then they can just go in and modify that. So we're trying to make it easier and easier and easier. That being said, we have everything from people that take 6 months to get Sisu turned up, even though our goal is to make it always happen in less than 30 days, which should easily happen. But on the other end of the spectrum, we have team owners that are just, tech savvy and just want to get shit done. They come in and in a weekend, like they have it all set up without us, so it's not hard to set up. We have a section called admin. If you go into the admin section, everything you need to do to set it up is in there. So if you just play around in there, you can get it all set up.
I want to shift gears, and no pun intended. But you're a car guy. But what I realized I've just been like sitting in our conversation the other day, and the time that I get to spend with you, Brian, literally means so much to me. You made a comment that you drive a specific type of car when you rally, and you were like, well, this kind of car rallies. The other type of car you sit and look at because most of the time it breaks down. And what I thought about in the last couple of days is Brian is not about the shiny stuff. He's about the stuff that works, that puts in work and willing to do the work that will bring the result. And the kind of cars that I'm talking about is Porsches. You love Porsches because you could drive them. Like you drive them and you rally them. There's others that are, another exotic that sit around and break down when you start to push them a little bit. And they're notorious for that kind of stuff. I look at you, that parallel in business too, right? What made you attracted to Porsches in the first place? Was it that? Was it the usefulness? Did you see the parallel with you and your character?
Well, maybe I didn't see the parallel with me and my character, but what I saw is that I like to drive. I like to drive on the racetrack. I like to drive through canyons. I like to drive fast. I like to go on rallies. And the more I got into the Porsche scene here in Utah and now in Arizona, it's really the Porsche people that like to drive. The people with McLarens or, whatever other brands, they know that there's a good chance their car is going to break down if they go on a rally. So they're not going to go on a rally with us after an event. And they also know that, if they get a rock chip in their windshield, it's going to be 17 grand to replace their windshield instead of 1,500, So anyway, there's a lot of things that just make most people don't really drive their cars. They're more of a collector's thing, more of a show thing, unless they're Porsches. So that's what I love about Porsches.
What got you into cars in the first place?
I mean, I've always had a passion for cars. I don't know, back to my childhood. I remember when I was dating somebody in high school, her brother had a slant nose 935 Turbo S that I wanted to buy from him as soon as I graduated from high school. Now, I didn't have enough money to do that, but I wish I would have. That would have been a really smart purchase. But anyway, I've had a passion for that. I've spent a lot of time in Europe, and the more time I spend in Europe, the bigger the passion grows.
So let's go back to Talk to Text, because when you started off 20 years ago, what you were talking about was insane. Like what you were talking about was crazy. Like, hey, I'm going to do this, talk to internet, things like that. Like people were probably giving you like, I don't know, unless they were people in the circle. You're doing, and I see you doing this too with Sisu. Like not everybody has caught on. They will. They're going to catch on and make their life a lot easier. How do you deal with that? And how do you prepare yourself when you have audacious kind of thought processes? How do you prepare your mind or even your environment to be able to weather the resistance that you're going to get?
Yeah, I'm definitely an early, a visionary, call it. Sometimes I'm ahead of my time. With Sisu, I don't think I am ahead of my time. I basically discovered Sisu because I saw the problems and challenges of growing a real estate business just by helping my wife grow her business. But where we're focused now is mostly on the stuff you were talking about earlier. Like it's the stuff that's going to drive the future, which is actually AI, right? So now how do we plug AI into this to all these conversion ratios to automatically say stuff like, you know what, you're really low in this area. We need to work on this. Oh, your team's not doing the activities in this area. Let's help you there. Or you may want to report and you may just say, hey, you know what, just pull up just pull up which of my agents have the lowest conversion ratio here, or just pull up all the transactions that I've sold from Zillow in this zip code, and it'll do that. So stuff like that. That's really the future. Reporting, we have the best reporting in the industry without a doubt. I don't think anybody in real estate would argue with that. And we can make it better. Like, we can make it simpler to get to. We're also focused on building custom dashboards, just making everything simple and customizable and easy to get to. So
what's the stratosphere for you right now? What's the thing that you're working on that right now people would resist, but in 5-10 years are going to be like, that's normal?
Well, the thing we've been working on the most over the last 2 years is completely redoing our front end interface and writing it in Angular. We used to keep our web apps in iOS and Android native, and it was impossible to keep up with the platform. And, we do releases every 2 weeks. So every 2 weeks, our platform goes from here to here and here to here, and it keeps going. And that's impossible to keep up if you don't have a platform that it doesn't matter what device I'm on, I get the same experience. So now if you're on your iPhone, you can do all the things like fill out an intake form as soon as you leave as soon as you close somebody, you could fill that out on your phone and start executing things. You could see all your reports on your phone. You can see the sales contests on your phone. You see everything. And so anyway, that's been a really, really big project. But as I looked at it 2 years ago with my team, and we decided to take on that challenge of doing that, we knew it'd make us way stronger coming out of it. But it's been hard because it slowed down our development. We've had 2 different platforms we're building off constantly. But now that we're almost at completely replacing the old platform, I'll compare it with this. If you use Zoom or call it Slack, you have the same experience on any device. It could be your phone, it could be your iPad, it could be your computer. You still have an app that's sitting at the bottom of the screen, even though you're on your computer. Sisu is the same way now. So we have the app. We figure if we're going to be $1 billion company, we need to do $1 billion company things. And so we started doing that a few years ago. That will allow us to more easily scale and build and do all the stuff we need to do now. And so it was a great decision, but it's been a challenge.
How have you been able to keep that heartbeat that I talked about earlier? Because I watched you at your at real estate spring break, which, if you're in the real estate game and you haven't been to that one, you need to go. But I watched you, and it wasn't about you sitting and talking about the tech to every person that walked through. You were simply just focused on connecting truly with the people. But I find that there's 2 different camps. There's the technology camp, and then there's the people camp. And a lot of times the people camp are like, no, if I use technology, it will take away from the personal experience. And then you've got the technology people that sometimes are like, you need to let that part go and just focus on the technology. But you've seemed to find that sweet spot that's the holy grail. How have you been able to balance the 2?
Well, Sisu is really about enabling you to change your culture, to be a better leader. So, like, it's not about, hey, we're going to take this technology and it's going to do everything for you. It's like, no, this technology is going to make you stronger. Mm. So if you can really embrace it and you can lead with it, you're going to be able to do some amazing things. So for me, it's just about, how can I help you? Like, what can I do to help you embrace this and go deeper? Because it's going to change your life.
How can technology help me in my family, help me in my day-to-day life? When you talk about these technologies and efficiencies, how does that translate into the real life? You talked about spending time with your son, sitting on this, front row, at the Jazz, things like that. Those are the things that a lot of times mean the most. But to be able to be in those spots, we got to be efficient with the things that we're doing. How do they connect for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'll share a good example. Spring shares this publicly, so I'll share it. But our daughter, I should remember the story better, but I think it was Mother's Day last year. Our daughter said something about Spring not spending enough time with her. And, the cool thing is Spring is she spends every morning from 8:30 to 9 on a call with her leadership team. And in that half an hour every day, she has her finger on her business. She knows the pulse of her business. Her leaders know what they have to do and what they have to come back and deliver on the next day and say, I did it or I didn't. And it takes her 30 minutes a day. So what has that allowed her to do? It's allowed her to spend more time with Brenna. It's also allowed her to spend time on other businesses. She now has a coaching business. She now has a mortgage business. She has a title business. She has a rev share business. She has a lot of businesses. And that's what it's allowed her to do that, because she has everything. Like you see this data behind me. She knows everything about her business real time all the time. It's not like she's going in and filling out some spreadsheets, or somebody's trying to fill out spreadsheets at the last minute so that she can get the data every day. No, that doesn't work. It just needs to be part of your system, part of your process. And if the data is fed in automatically through part of your process, now you have the data real time so that you can truly lead your team, without having to have that prepared. A lot of people are like, whenever we do an event, they're like, so how much time does it take Spring's team to prepare, to put all the data in for this? It's like, no, you don't get it. We are their system. We are how they execute. And that's why the data is in there all the time.
Wow. So what wakes you up in the morning?
What wakes me up in the morning?
Mm-hmm.
Just excitement. Every day I'm grateful to live another day. That's for sure. I think as we age, health, we realize health is really the most important thing. And so health is the number one thing. So I'm grateful every day I wake up. First thing I do is work out. And then I will usually do Tony Robbins priming to get my mindset in a state of gratitude, which allows me to then basically have a productive day. And so